This is 7.7 example 4. We're going to combine a couple of things that we need to put together here and take a look at this. So even though we've learned some shortcuts and we've learned some other things, the first thing we always do is still to look for the greatest common factor. So as I look at both of these, I realize that they both are both divisible by 3. They both have at least one x, and they both have at least one y. So when I factor that out and I divide the first term by 3xy, that will leave me with just an x squared. And then 12 divided by 3, negative 12 divided by 3 is negative 4. And then the x cancels out and leaves me in the y cubed divided by y is y squared. Now this may look like we're done because we have just a binomial here, but remember again, we're going to always, when we get to a binomial, ask ourselves if it is a binomial, is it subtraction, and are those perfect squares? And in this particular case, those really are. So I'm going to have x and x, and the square root of negative 4y is 2y. And of course, one of those needs to be positive and one of those needs to be negative. And don't forget, we're going to include that 3xy on the outside. Go ahead and pause your video and do the 2 try-its for this, and then come back and check your work. Okay, on try-it part A, the greatest common factor for these is 4x. And 4x cubed divided by 4x is just 1x squared. And the 24 divided by 4 is 6x. And then 36 divided by 4 is 9. Just 9, the x's are gone. Now I need to look to see. I noticed that the first term and the last term are both perfect squares. So I'm going to ask myself, if this is really x squared and this is really 3 squared, is that middle term 2 times x times 3? And it is. So I'm going to go ahead and draw the conclusion then that is a perfect square trinomial, and I'm going to draw x plus 3 squared, and don't forget I'm going to drop down and keep that 4x as one of the factors. So that has used both of those shortcuts. On part B, we're looking for the greatest common factor here. And the greatest common factor is 2. And that will leave us with 25x squared minus 16y squared. I'm left with a binomial, that is subtraction, and the first one is a perfect square, and the second one is a perfect square. So don't forget that 2 needs to stay there. And we're going to have one of them be positive and one of them be negative. And the square root of the first one is 5x, and the square root of the second one is 4y.